Yo, what's good, D? How are you, my man?
What's up? How you doing, bro?
I'm doing well. What this Friday morning, we're back at it. We little bit of technical difficulties before the episode here because I don't have Google Chrome, but here we are, and it should be smooth sailing forward. How you got any Friday plans? How are you?
I'm doing good, man. I mentioned this to you before, and I mentioned it to our producer Zach. I feel like I was fucking shot out of a cannon this morning. I have so much on my mind that I want to tell you.
100%.
And Friday plans. I got a busy day.
Busy
We're
work day?
Yeah, kind of a busy work day. After this, I'm doing our 1:37 p.m. show later on as a guest. Got a lot of meetings, and then I'm going home, and I got the best plan. I'm just gonna do nothing tonight. I'm just gonna
That's
chill
awesome.
out. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah.
excited. What about you?
Yeah, just quickly on that meeting piece. Actually, I saw something super interesting on LinkedIn yesterday. Avery, like this head and CEO of Vayner 3, just came out with a transition to like Vayner 3's model in the sense that every Tuesday and Thursday they're banning all internal meetings. So like there'll be no Zoom like with clients obviously, but any internal meetings, no Tuesday, Thursday for Vayner 3. And she kind of came out with a big content piece around why and productivity and all that. But I thought that was interesting to see, the a part of the Vayner ecosystem make that move.
I love
Um,
that. I love that
yeah,
because man, I just want to get out of all these meetings, and I know like
yeah,
my guy Tyler's. I've been talking to him a lot about that, and he's really trying to get out of meetings too.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
it's just such a time suck, and it's just like
I,
one of those things where you don't need to be on a meet. There's so
no,
many meetings that are just unnecessary.
and for me at least, what I find is it kills some of my momentum, especially when there's a big project or something I'm working on, and I see a meeting half an hour here, a meeting an hour later. Like it just kills the momentum in the day. I actually find that I get less done. So yeah, no, it's definitely an interesting move. I'm sure we'll get into more professional stuff later in the pod,
I'll
but
say one last thing on that, which is
yeah,
just like, when I have these blocks of time, an hour, 2 hour, and then it's like, oh, I'll find time on your calendar. And I'm like, I really got to start making that time busy because like
block it off.
I need those blocks of time to actually get work done or be creative or and so
No doubt.
that's just definitely something that's on my mind. I wanted to ask you just like what the last week or two has been for you, especially like off of us recording the first two episodes. Like, where's your head been at? Because for me, I'm literally I'm going crazy. I'm losing my mind.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll start with I didn't think launching a podcast would be this much work in
No,
terms of
right?
all the pieces and everyone helping out on the back end. And, I think especially for this, we were talking yesterday, but like going through old pods, seeing what we need to cut, seeing what we need to clip, and then like also wanting to read all these books and listen to all these podcasts. Like I'm finding there's not enough time in the day, as well as just being super critical of we're watching it back. You're probably judging yourself. I'm judging myself. I told you that when I was going through and saying like clips to cut, 75-80% were mine because again, you're more critical of yourself. I didn't want to like ruin one of your thoughts, even though potentially you were rambling on, but I want you like it was kind of a situation where I want you to be the one saying you're rambling on, whereas I know when I'm rambling on. But yeah, man, I think that both of us um, just need to chill out a bit. This is a learning experience for both of us. So that's
For
that's kind of where my head's at. How about
I
you?
mean, for sure, and I think it's probably normal where like, for example, I hate the sound of my own voice, and I'm sure a lot of people, deal with that same thing. And
Really? What
yeah,
what
like
why is that though? Like what's your
I don't
rationale?
know, like I just hear my own voice, and I'm just like, shut up, like, like I don't,
Okay.
and
I
honestly, it's just again, I think it's something that probably a lot of people deal with, but like I made a list of things that of things that like I was critical about of over the last 2 weeks, and so for
hit me with
example,
it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, like we I know you mentioned this to me, but like saying certain words. So the word like, we
Definitely.
probably dropped the word like 300 times, the word crazy. every single thing we described as crazy. I told you this yesterday, but we said at the end of the day, at one sequence, we said at the end of the day, I think 10 times in the span of 30 seconds.
We were getting
You were
super philosophical for sure.
super philosophical, and then I just like, and I know this about myself. Sometimes I can be inarticulate, like I can't get the words out. I call myself a marble mouth because like I'm making this point and then I'm like trying to finish it and like you're the one that's coming in to like finish my sentence because I can't even get it out. And then I'll say one last thing, which is just, we did this pilot episode, which was in person,
Yep.
and it's funny because first off, the video, like my part, we were shot where it was one video was on me and one video was on you, right? And my video is like not super clear, but I was also like shot from the side in profile,
Yeah.
and and it just that's you have like your bad side and like your
Oh,
good
you thought that was
side.
your bad side?
Just shooting me from the side, like I have a schnoz, you know what I mean? And so like having me the entire time from the side, I might as well have been just doing the podcast completely naked. Like that's how I felt. I felt very vulnerable. And so the long story short, and we'll get into it at the end of the day. We'll get into it later on, but I think it's just this thing of being like overly critical and wanting it to be perfect, and this is our baby, and so we're listening back and we're trying to figure out where the clips are and where the edits are, and
Yep.
we'll get there. So it's just we'll
Yeah,
get
yo,
there.
I guess, my question would be, do you spend all last night looking up synonyms for crazy and at the end of the day, or, like,
No,
fuck, I just
no,
said, like yeah,
I
it's,
know. We're gonna just keep doing it. That's the truth, and I guess we'll get better over time of not saying those words, those filler words. But
I'm off crazy. You'll be hearing a lot of "awesome," "That's awesome," or shit like that from me, but I'm off the word crazy. If I say that, I'll, every listener, uh, 20 cents from me
we're
if I say it again.
gonna have a
Um,
mason jar.
yeah, yeah, no doubt. But yeah, man, I think that's where we're at right now in terms of the pod. I'm excited for this episode. To your point, woke up juiced, feel like we're ready to roll. A little bit of technical difficulties, but definitely don't feel scrambled, feeling good. So yeah, I mean, should we jump into the put on segments and get into the mean bones of the pod?
Yeah, let's put each other onto some shit.
Cool. So I think we should start with and I always love hearing what you have to say because I mean you've got a lot to say on this. But what's an idea you've had since we last spoke, or a
Okay.
couple?
And I have a couple ideas.
Of course you
And
did.
again, I just want to put the disclaimer out there that when I do these ideas, for the most part, they're very half baked. They're just things that I think like, are inconveniences that I would love to solve for. And I don't have them fully fleshed out.
I think
So,
I honestly think you might be the king of half baked ideas.
oh,
Like
I,
the like
I know.
yeah. So let's hear them.
I'll take,
I'll fully bake them. That's
okay.
I just need the half baked ideas, man. I can roll from there.
Okay, here's an idea that I actually came up with this morning, again, in the shower where I get all my ideas. I was thinking about like the NFT world, and I was thinking about, what happened with Kevin Rose and like getting hacked and all that stuff, right?
Of course, man. I live in the space. Yeah, that's insane. K
Okay,
Rose getting hacked.
it is insane. And I don't want to get too far into that, but what I would say is this: NFTs are we're in the early stages, right? And there's all types of
100%.
complexities with the wallets and the cold storage. There's a lot of security issues. There's fraud. There's just a lot of um, problems that with any early technology, it comes with the territory, right?
No
And
doubt.
so I was thinking about this, like everybody's trying to onboard people into the space and educate people, but how do you actually learn something? You learn it by doing it, right? And
Yep.
maybe this is one of those things where maybe there's something like this that already exists, but my idea was like there should be an NFT simulation. Like, you know how there are flight simulators? You're not going to just start flying a plane right away. You're going to first like do
Yeah.
the flight simulator to do it. So what if there was an NFT simulator, and this can be a great thing for like older people that are getting into it, that are afraid, intimidated by the technology.
Yep.
And basically what it is like, it's almost like a game where you get the NFT, you're able to like mint an NFT, and you're able to um, you know, open a wallet and list things. But then there are these other components where like somebody sends you a link, and like if you click on the link, it's like, oh, all your money's gone. You know what I mean? Like something where you could
It's
basically experience what it is that to be in this world without the risk of losing millions of dollars.
I like that you're calling it NFT simulator. To me, it's at its core, it's kind of a gamified course, but I think that's a fucking brilliant idea. I yeah, my head is like there's certain calls throughout the day, probably every day, where someone's saying something and throwing an idea at me, and my head just kind of goes, "Shit, like how can I go off this?" And that was probably like last episode. Sure, I liked your ideas. This idea, especially with my background and where I'm at right now in terms of like the my professional life and being in the NFT space, I could roll with that, man. I We should talk after on
Okay, all right,
that's an interesting idea.
all
I'm
right.
with you. I think that super valuable for people to learn. I like
Okay.
that. It's a good
I'm
idea.
I'm excited about that. I have a couple more ideas. Do you want me to get into those, or do you wanna
No,
share what your idea is?
do one more. I don't think anything will beat that one, but do one
Okay.
more. That's a good
Okay.
one.
Here's one that's also very, very kinda half baked, quarter baked. And again, I don't have like, there needs to be some science applied here, but okay, like I was thinking about weed, right? And just like smoking weed, and like obviously in New York it's now legalized, and my own issues with weed of just
Yeah,
eating, of just like
brought that up.
smoking and eating and
Yeah, yeah,
having the
yeah.
munchies. And so I was thinking, what if there was a diet weed? Like there are these there's like skinny girl margarita, right? Which is like, so that there's no calories. But what if some sort of scientist figured out a weed that didn't give you the munchies? And like, I know that's sometimes it's part of the fun, but I just feel like there's probably a huge market out there for people that would like to smoke, but wouldn't like to actually eat. And so if somebody
Yeah.
could develop a strain and call it diet weed, I just think I think it's a I think it's $1 billion idea.
Yeah, again, you might be batting 1,000 right now. That's not bad. Harder said than done probably. I can't even wrap my head around how someone would go about that, but
I mean,
definitely
there are scientists that can figure that out, right? Like it's just
they
like,
must, yeah.
get in there with the microscope and the petri dish and just
And go
modify
at
the
it and
weed.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I hear you on that. When you say though that, the diet weed, is this something where you would use all like are there specific days that you're like, "Oh, I want the munchies," or would this be something that you would utilize every time?
It- Honestly, I think there's definitely times where I'm just like, I don't want to eat like an animal tonight, and it's definitely been one of these things that's been top of mind lately for me. And we might get into it a little bit later when we talk maybe bad habits again. But um I also just think like outside of myself, there are probably people, that are concerned about their health or their weight, or and but they like smoking, and they like, they're users of cannabis, and I just feel like there's probably a market for diet weed. Like there's a market for 0 calorie everything, and diet drinks, and so I just feel like uh there's probably a market for this too. That's where I would leave it. I haven't really
Yeah.
thought any other than that.
I guess quickly,
Yeah.
and you might have wanted to touch on it later, but what's your go-to snack or munchie?
My go-to snack or munchie. My favorite my favorite snack, I'm very much like either an ice cream or ice pop type of guy.
I
And
had you as a
so
cookies guy.
Well, I'm a cookies guy too, but I'm like all the above. When you ask me what my favorite snack is, it's literally the most impossible question I could answer, you
Ice
know?
cream, though, is your answer.
I'm a big coffee ice cream guy. Like, right
Coffee ice cream.
oh, that's Haagen-Dazs coffee ice cream is my number 1,
See,
like,
I have you as just because you say it so much, I have you as a half-baked, Ben& and Jerry's half-baked.
half-baked, I
You know
love
the flavor?
half-baked. Oh,
Yeah,
of
of
course,
course.
that's
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. But I get kinda sick of that. Coffee, the Haagen-Dazs coffee ice cream I always go to. If you looked in my freezer right now, maybe I'll take a picture when I go home. I have so many different types of, like, ice cream and ice pops going on in there.
I feel like in terms of what's in my place right now, we're the opposite, man. I have no chips, no fucking cookies, no ice cream, no honestly, if I went up and was like, "Yo, let me indulge in something," I couldn't find anything in my pantry or fridge that I would be like, "Oh, this is super bad for" like, I mean, just straight junk.
I
So
well, that's why you're much healthier than me, and and that is gonna be the topic of the habits conversation. But I'll just say this: I have mango pops in there right now. I have creamsicles. I have
creamsicles and
mini
mango pops are top 2.
I have
Very
mini
good.
cones right now, cookies and cream flavored. I have root
That's way
beer.
too much, man.
I know,
Way
I'm
too
literally
much.
out of control, and it's just when I get into a supermarket, I'm, like, compulsive, like, I can't I can't control myself when I'm in the freezer aisle, like, I'm like a kid in a candy store. I'm a kid in a ice cream store.
I would set a challenge for you to be next time you're in the supermarket or grocery store, every bad thing you buy, ice cream, chips, whatever, you have to couple that with something that's healthy. So, and that'll, I mean, typically, you know, or fruits, organic or not, like things like that are more expensive than, just straight junk. So I would challenge you to, it's got to be a one for one. Maybe you already
It's a
do
good
that,
you
but
know what? I respect that, but what I'd say is it's not a good challenge for me because I already do that. I get the fruits and stuff. What I really need to do is just stop buying
the,
all of that shit, and then I'll be much better off. But, can I give you one more idea, one while it's on my mind?
yeah,
This is one that is actually one of my best ideas, and I just feel like I have to tell you about it.
this
I
is your
feel like
best idea after those two.
this is one of those ideas that, like, if I wasn't doing what I'm doing and I wanted to go into this business, which I don't, I would do it, but it's a restaurant chain, right? I've told you
Yep,
about this. I have this idea to do a restaurant chain, and, like, what's the best food like, in my opinion, it's the home cooked meal.
I agree.
And the best home cooked meal comes from mom, right? And it comes from grandma. And like they're just it's just like a
It's made
natural
with
thing.
love.
Yeah, it's made with love. So I have this chain idea for a restaurant that's called Mother's, right?
Yep.
And then it would be like Mother's Italian, Mother's Chinese,
Oh, there's Mexican. I hear you.
Mother's Mexican, like Mother's like a Jewish one, like with that style of food. And basically the idea being that all the chefs and all the people that are in the kitchen are mothers or grandmothers, right? Obviously those are mothers too. But and then you're getting a home cooked meal for whatever the cuisine is, whatever the nationality cuisine is. I just feel like that would kill because like I would love to go to like any sort of home cooked style like restaurant of that particular, cuisine.
I think, and you didn't mention it in Italian, Mexican, a Jewish style. I think
Greek.
what would kill
Yeah.
and where I would be going first if this franchise came out is like a Southern style,
Oh,
um, mac and cheese, ribs. I go to Texas and find one of these spots. We're laughing. We're laughing. That would be
yeah.
amazing.
I
Um,
you know what? I feel mad that I didn't even mention that because
I
that's
can't
that
believe that
happens
was
to be one of my favorite types of food. I
the
guess because I
only
was
thing on my mind
yeah,
was that. Yeah,
yeah. You got any ideas for me?
I do. Yeah, maybe not as good as you. I enjoyed your ideas today. I think that
Okay,
was I
cool.
think you killed the segment today. Um, but yeah, I got a couple. Both a bit more, uh, maybe easier to I don't know, easier to execute than diet weed for sure.
Okay.
Um, but so one of them is this golden food truck idea. So hear me out. And this is actually it goes back. So when I was living in Dubai, I probably lived in Dubai from 10 years old to 14 maybe. And our neighbor were also Canadian, and the gentleman had this golden food truck, and it would like pure gold, and it like painted all gold and very nice looking inside, and he would rent it out to restaurants who would just want to do like a pop up thing on the weekend, and he would kill. Like he was killing in Dubai. This
Ooh,
whole novelty golden food truck stands out. People know that it's something new today. We're gonna try some new food, like super high quality, whatever, whatever. And what ended up happening with him was he actually ended up selling his golden food truck to a local guy who wanted to use it as a camper van
okay.
and made like the trade was he was telling me the trade was 5 Rolexes and like 30 grand for this golden food truck. And he bought it for like 20 grand, painted it up. Like, so rich local guy bought his golden food truck.
Okay.
And when I moved to Canada, I was like, "Fuck, like, these people are just buying these golden food trucks." I'm like, "I think that would stick." And so what I wanted to do was essentially, like, franchise this golden food truck idea where probably wouldn't work in a winter climate, but, I mean, the food truck scene across North America, across Europe, across the world has blown up. And having the ability to, go to these different even in Edmonton, we have these, food festivals and where different restaurants come. So having the ability to not set up your own food truck, but get your restaurant out there and just,
Hmm.
like, pop up for a weekend with something that stands out being this golden food truck since it's novel, was kinda my idea. And so yeah, I think that the business model at its core is pretty simple because all you have to do is buy these food trucks in these different spots, have someone operate it and drive it to the thing, then the restaurants show up, do their thing for a couple days, whatever that is, pay you obviously to rent, lease it, and then that it goes from there. And
Wait,
so
so the food truck just turns over just based on it's
yep,
the same food truck
same food
each
truck
time, but
each
it's
time.
a different restaurant comes in and
Exactly.
they're able to kinda operate out of that food truck for
Exactly,
a
and
short
pop
period of
up
time.
yeah, and pop up at whatever event they want, or maybe they even deem that, this one street in San Francisco, for example, is hustling, Monday to Friday, and they feel like their margins are good, and they wanna pop up there for weeks, like, we can accommodate that. I
So
think that
it's a pop-up restaurant for f but for food trucks, basically, right?
and yes, and it's a golden food truck, and the hope is that, again, going off this guy,
What
that
is the
down
gold what is the gold part of it, though? What do you mean it's a gold like, it looks gold? It is gold?
fully painted gold,
Okay.
like, it looks gold. Again, it's because to me, it's like every other food truck, like, looks the same, whatever, it's branded, whatever.
Yeah.
Golden food truck is fucking novel in my opinion, and if we can brand ourselves correctly, I go out and I see a golden food truck, I'm like, that's gonna be good quality food, and it's something interesting. Let me like, I'm just saying the golden food truck is kind of like the eye candy, and I jump to that golden food truck. So that's why the gold. But yeah, it's to me, it's basic enough to execute. It's just like, I mean, I don't know.
I think it's a good idea. I actually like it a lot, and I have an idea that I was gonna tell you about today that was a food truck one that, like
Really?
it was on the lesser scale of my ideas. It was more so around I remember during during COVID, during the pandemic, when everybody was in their houses, I always thought, like, there should be a truck that comes around well, at that time, it
Kinda
was
like an
like
ice cream truck?
well, yeah, like an ice cream truck that would be like during COVID, it was like that would have paper towels and that would have like toilet paper and that would have
Oh,
like
like a
those type of things.
yeah.
And then it evolved into why isn't there a food truck that goes around the neighborhood, like in the suburbs, that like on the weekends that has like iced coffees and bagels and like breakfast
Breakfast stuff.
things,
Yeah.
like because I would roll outside like an ice cream truck, like if I heard the little jingle, the breakfast jingle, like the ice cream truck jingle,
You
I'd be
jump
like,
up?
oh yeah, I would jump up and I'd run outside, get myself, an iced coffee on a hot summer day. But
Yeah.
I'm down with food truck ideas.
Cool, yeah, I feel like that's such an American thing that you just said because here in -40 Celsius, you guys do Fahrenheit, which is stupid, but, no, here, no one's rolling out of bed to jump outside for a bagel. We don't really eat bagels here. Maybe Montreal, other than I
Yeah,
know
because
you're a
the
big fan of
Montreal
Montreal.
bagel, bro. But yeah, I
So
know.
good. But I mean,
Not into them.
where I'm from, it's warm coffee, not iced coffee, and it's, pancakes with maple syrup, eh? Like, that's what I get. Um, but yeah, I have one more idea, and then,
Yeah, and then let's
that's
go. Let's go to
it on my ideas.
yeah.
But so to kind of, go off of your NFT idea, I obviously play in the blockchain space, and this is some people are already doing this. They just haven't executed, and I think that there's room here to come in and pioneer. But so I think that small businesses, I mean, I don't know how many New York have a crazy amount, but small businesses are popping up left, right, and center across the world. And, you know, and I think something that they're always thinking about is consumer loyalty and that brand equity. So, what I want to come in and do, and my idea is introducing a loyalty rewards program similar, like Starbucks has just done it, um, but having it be a B2B app where I come in, I've got this app, I license it out to a business for 3, 6, or 12-month term, and what they're able to do is I spin up a QR code for them or however that looks, the user experience looks. It's not, again, this half-baked idea.
Mhm.
Um, so, the local 5 coffee shops, let's say. I go to them, I say, "This is what I've got. I've got this app," and what you're gonna do is an individual comes in, scans it, and it'll show their order on this app. So let's say I get a coffee and a bagel. It shows what I got. I can track what I like. Let's say I go to this place 5 times a month. I'm tracking what I got. I got 5 coffees. Bang, on the fifth coffee, it's interactive. So it flips to something else and says, "Today coffee's on us." Or
Ooh.
like just interesting little tidbits that they can add that'll keep that person coming back, because I feel like, you know, in our day to day, depending on if you have a routine or not, but if you're, in your professional life and you're actually going in the office and have to go in every day, you've probably got a routine where, I go to this coffee shop every day because I like it, it's the best coffee, or maybe I mix it up. I think
Yeah.
for those people who mix it up, who are, I mean, that market is massive. And so I think that, adding a little bit of spice to their day in terms of like, man, it makes someone's day to go in and be like, oh shit, I just got a free coffee. I'm coming back here. Like, if they're going to be doing this. And I think that, it'll just put certain businesses a step ahead and build that consumer loyalty. So again, half baked, I think that it can be spread across several industries, but there's some fun there that
Well,
I'm
you're
thinking
saying
through.
half baked, but when I hear that, I feel like that is coming. That is coming very like sooner than later. You know what I mean? Like that feels like like that should already be a thing in a way,
I'm
and
trying to
kind of
execute, man. Yeah.
I know it makes a lot of sense. I can see kind of things going in that direction, and so I would say that to me feels like one of the more fully baked ideas as opposed to like a half baked idea.
I just think I agree. I just think that there's an angle there that, for me at least, is half baked in terms of like if I can come in with this spin and either like something interactive or gamify it, that's the half baked thing for me. Like the product and the tech is baked,
Yeah.
but yeah, there's something there that I'm, maybe again we can talk after on that. But
I think you're on the verge of a very good idea right there.
okay, I want to transition
Yeah.
to a podcast that
Oh,
you've listened to in the
yeah.
past few weeks that has really resonated with you or was impactful. And I think that we're both gonna say the same thing, but
We are.
I'll let you kick it off. What pod?
Yeah. So the pod, I was sent it by this particular pod, which I, I've never actually listened to. I know the podcast is Peter Attia's The Drive, which I
Yep.
know of Peter Attia, but I've never listened to his podcast. He had a guest on uh, the other day. I guess maybe it was like a week ago. Bill Perkins, might have been longer ago. And Bill
Yeah.
Perkins wrote this book called Die with Zero: Getting All You Can from Your Money and Your Life.
Yep.
Um, the title of the podcast was Optimizing Life for Maximum Fulfillment. And basically like the long story short is it's a lot about kind of like the relationship between time and money. and just how you think about these things. And you know, there's like a line that I had written down that the guy Bill Perkins was saying, where it's like everyone says I want to be rich before I'm 30, or I want to be rich before I'm 40, but no one says I want to be rich before I'm 86, right? So
Yeah,
intuitively in there, there's something there about the utility of money where it's not as valuable to you later in life, and so there's this whole kind of like point that he's making around the fact that there's a curve, right? Money isn't useful to you when you're born,
yep,
and really it's not that useful to you when you're on your deathbed. So his argument is like
100%.
there's an inflection point when you should be spending down your assets,
Yeah,
and really his main kind of or the main takeaway that I got from it was like he's really big on experiences, right?
yep,
And just this idea of, you know, I want to spend my money like, and again, this is like if you have the money to spend, because maybe a lot of people aren't in the same position as Bill
no doubt.
Perkins. It seems like the guy is has
Doing
like
well.
a, you know,
He's doing well.
very, yeah, he's successful, but like he wants to have the experiences when he can actually enjoy it, right? He wants to go on the vacation with his friends, and he'll just pay for the vacation because he
For
knows,
everyone.
yeah, for everyone, because he knows that like I'm never going to get this chance again. And it really hit me, and I want to hear your thoughts on it, but this idea of just like the type of people that save and accumulate money,
For when
and
they're, yeah,
and
retired.
it's like, for what? So that you could go on a Carnival cruise when you're 80 years old?
No,
I'm like,
100%.
shit, he's right. He is so right in that way. And I'll say one more thing, and then I need to get your take, is just like one of the examples, and I think it might have been Peter Attia that actually brought it up, where it was like, if you're a 20-year-old kid, right, like yourself, but like you're broke, would you trade places with Warren Buffett, who's like 80, 90, whoever know what is he, 90 something years old or 80 something years old, who's a billionaire, you know, who's got the most money in the entire world? And the answer is no, right?
Yeah,
Because
no
like
chance.
because the 20-year-old has, you know, hypothetically 50, 60, 70 more years of life,
Ahead of
of
them.
time
Yeah,
on the earth,
yeah.
whereas Warren Buffett doesn't. And it just puts so many things in perspective and changes kind of the way you think about it. I love the episode, and yeah, tell me what you thought about it. Give me like what were the things that stood out to you?
Yeah, first off, I think for me, that was one of the most valuable pods, I would put that top 5 I've ever listened to,
Wow.
and I'm a big pod guy. But yeah, I think his take on something that stuck with me that he said towards the beginning, what is, and I quote, "Time, health, and experiences, um, money is just a conduit to trade between these resources. So these are the 3 resources of life, and money is used to trade between them." So I think something that was interesting that he was going on about was like, you know, certain experiences belong at certain points in your life,
Right.
and once you're older and maybe you become autopilot with money, and made an example to Peter Attia in saying that he was talking about, this family who went on an African safari when their kids were younger.
Yeah.
And it's, those are expensive, man. It was, he was saying it was 30K, right?
Yeah.
And Peter Attia was kind of like, 30K is a lot of money, Bill. People got to work a long time for that. And yeah, it's tough to do that with a family, and you got to save for later. And he was just kind of like, do you think you're gonna have $30,000 when you're on your deathbed when you die? And he's like, yeah, hopefully. And then so Bill's point was, well, then you can fucking spend it now.
Right.
Like you just building the bank of experiences, and having that, something that you're never gonna get again because your kids are never gonna be that old again. You're never gonna be in that certain condition that you are again. And I just think that, like, he to your point, he kept tying it back to experiences, and gave real life examples. And even one, he was living in New York, and one of his roommate at the time, like, took out a loan to go traveling, and
Yeah.
that at the time, obviously, that just seemed like the craziest thing in the world. Who the fuck takes out a loan to go travel and essentially lose all that money? But he said that he came back richer with, romances and experiences and just a broader life perspective. And I think that I can really that really resonated with me because it's one of those things where, I'm a big money guy. Like, we talk money, and I'm on my grind trying to, make more all the time and just work hard. And I think that one of the things that I'm actively thinking about and that has changed over the past few years is like I would rather, spend my money on an experience and have that last with me a lifetime than have an extra, few $1,000s in my bank account. Like it's all about, what I can do at specific times. And like again, I'm for me at least, I'm never gonna be 21 again. And so long story short, I'm head to Europe this summer again. Like I want to do a few different things. It definitely kind of got me thinking, and yeah, man, I think that he was his just one more point, and then I'll let you jump back in.
Yeah, yeah.
He was pretty much between like those three resources piece. He was saying that what his point is and what he is solving for is net fulfillment,
Right.
which is how we allocate those three resources. And so like I mean, for me and you probably both, like what you're doing, as a creative director, is probably fulfilling, and just like we don't need money to be fulfilled. It's just there's so many different things in life, like kids, whatever it is. We're obviously at different points, but I think that net fulfillment piece, definitely my friends and people I know are not thinking about that at all. It's all about how do I make more money and how do I,
I
do these
know,
things.
and we have no gauge of, like, what's enough money, and, like, it's money is this thing that is constantly on our mind. But I think another interesting thing that Bill Perkins was talking about is just like he looks at life in terms of he's always thinking about like that clock of like how much time he has left, right?
Yeah,
And like, and he's able to kind of think back, well, if the average lifespan is X, then and I only have, this much time left, well, like he always wants to be aware of how much time he has left
yeah,
because we're not here forever. And there was one other really kind of interesting thing that's kind of like stuck in my mind where he was talking about how there was this story about this woman who, like saved up a lot of money over her life. And then at the end of her life, like she passed away. And then people found out she had saved all this money, and all the money then was donated to a charitable
yeah,
like foundation that she had picked. And he had this controversial take of just like, yeah, that's all well and good, but like, or you could have given that money to that charity while you were alive, like
yeah.
way earlier on. And yeah, the compound interest, it would have been a much bigger sum of money. It was a much bigger sum of money by the time she passed, but you would be able to allocate that money and actually see where it's going, and it would have more value to the people that you actually want to give it to at that moment in time, as opposed to like when you're gone and there's no control over them. And it's a different way of thinking about time and
Life.
money. Yeah, it is. I have a book that I'm in the middle of reading, and like I don't want to get into it because I want to finish reading it and talk about it. It's 4,000 weeks, and we'll talk
Yeah,
about
I'm
it on the next
familiar.
pod. And
Yeah.
it's a similar thing where it's just about the finite nature of life and just thinking about things, knowing that like it's called 4,000 weeks because the average lifespan is
Yeah.
4,000 weeks, which is
Which
crazy
when
to
you
think
say out
about
loud,
and
yeah.
scary and stressful and morbid, but just
But yeah.
fascinating, all of that stuff. But I would like to ask you about, well, either a memorable show, a movie, or a clip that you watched recently that you're thinking about.
Yeah, this is like on a completely different note than the podcast, obviously.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean, transparently, I'm not a massive, TV movie guy, so I don't, get into a lot of things. But something that I watched recently, that I enjoyed as a big sports fan was they just released a documentary called Breakpoint
Hmm.
on Netflix. And it pretty much follows behind the scenes of the ATP and WTA tour, which, for those who don't know, is the tennis pro circuit. And yeah, I think that seeing because for me, I grew up playing, um, team sport with being a hockey, baseball, and then taking the soccer career where I did,
Uh-huh.
and the parodies between seeing these super high level athletes, best in the world, but in an individual sport, and seeing how they interact with their coaches and how they interact with their team and how they interact with themselves, like the mental state. You have no one to pick you up.
Right.
Like you're in a match, you're in your own thoughts. Like it's all you. Whereas when I play team sport, you're fighting for the team. Like we're out there, and one constructive word from myself to my center back, for example, changes the course of his match. Versus in this situation, like just that compete needs to be all intrinsic. And
Mhm.
I yeah, I think I think for anyone who's a sports fan, definitely recommend watching Breakpoint and just taking it in just as like a competitor and just seeing, the mental side of the game as well as the physical and seeing, how fucking legit these athletes actually are. So yeah, that's my piece on a show.
It's
How about you?
interesting because somebody else put me onto that too, and now I'm like, my whole thing of putting people onto things is like, if I hear it from multiple people, then I have to go check it out.
Yeah,
And when you were talking about it, for whatever reason, what it made me think of is Michael Phelps, because I just remember, I don't know if it was like a video clip or something I read all about his routine, and there is such a stark contrast
100%.
between the team sport and the individual sport, and how much of a mental thing it is to like go out there and it's all on you, and you're the only person that like is responsible for your success or your failure. And so I would love to watch it. I'm not the biggest tennis guy, admittedly,
That's fair.
but the even like the other person that told me about it, my buddy Aaron, who's at 137,
Yeah.
um, shouts Aaron, uh, was saying he wasn't a tennis guy either, and that he loved the doc. So I'm definitely
It,
going to check it
did
out.
you watch Drive to Survive, the F1?
I didn't. I've
Okay, it's
heard that
it's
one's a
very
good
s
too.
that was very good, and it kind of I wasn't really into F1, and now I'm an F1 guy,
Uh huh.
through that, but yeah, that's what this is like, and then a golf one's coming out as well in, like, the next 2 weeks, which between, like, I assume you're not a big golf guy from the conversations we've had, but the Live Golf, the whole, Saudi league coming in,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and PGA, there's a lot of that in the documentary, so it's pretty political from what I've heard. It's obviously not out yet, but I'm excited for that one.
I've been
Um,
following along with all the live stuff, and like I'm not the biggest golfer, but I like to get out there and just I
oh,
don't really keep score, but I like to have a good time and just chill with my friends. I do it very infrequently though. Um, let me
let's hear yours.
Yeah, like mine, I haven't watched a lot of movies or shows, but I did see a clip that I thought was really funny from Jimmy Fallon the
Okay.
other day. I think I
Yeah.
sent it to you, which was
Yeah, I saw it.
Nate Bargatze, who's a stand-up comedian, who I happen to love and I think is hilarious. And so basically, in the clip he's talking about that like he's 43, but like he still feels young, right? Like,
Yeah.
and obviously I still feel that way too. And so he's saying he still feels young, and like he'll be like with a 23-year-old and he'll be like, you get it, dude. Like, we're just a couple of young guys kicking it. And then like a 45-year-old guy will come over and he'll be like, beat it, old man. Like, like, I can't believe that guy had the nerve to come hang with us young guys. And obviously, like, I relate to that a lot because of you and me, right? And
Yeah.
and also just my job where I'm surrounded by a bunch of kids that are in their 20s. And it's just it's such a funny clip, and he's so funny, he has such dry humor, but it also made me think about this meme that I always see. Um, and whenever I'm talking to my colleagues here,
Yeah.
I like bring it up of I don't know if you've seen the Steve Buscemi, like it's like a meme from like 30 Rock, and he's like dressed as like a teenager at school, and he's like, "How do you do, fellow kids?" And I mean, it's look. The truth is, I am 38 years old. I truly believe this. Like, I am going to be 78 years old one day, and
Still a kid.
I think I'm gonna still feel like a kid, like
That's
on the
fucking awesome.
inside, you know? it hasn't changed that way. And
Stay young.
so yeah, like I'm young at heart, but I'm also like, I don't know. I can't relate to the idea of like acting my age, because
Yeah, I hear you.
I'm a kid. I am literally a kid. I will always have that childish mentality in my mind.
And I just off that clip, I, respect the fuck out of, older individuals like yourself, 38, 40, 50, whatever, who can kick it with us young guns, and I think that, you know, through I've had probably I mean, bro, like, transparently, a couple of the old jobs I worked at, like, my boss was, like, maybe 40, 45, few kids, we're in completely different stage of life, and, like, yeah, he's one of my like, we're going to Vegas and it's just like he's one of the like, there's some older dudes who are, like, part of the boys,
Yeah.
and it's like, I think that for at least them, it makes them feel young again, and it is what they were doing at 21, and they get to sort of relive that and live vicariously through myself by asking stories about, "Oh, you go out this weekend? Like, you see any girl?" Like, you d and it's just like, it's one of those things that I respect the fuck out of that, and it's such a I love it, man. I hear you, and yeah, I just wanted
You
to
get
touch
to,
on
you
that.
get to this stage in life where like you have responsibilities, you have your parent, you have kids, you're married, and it's like you still want to have fun. And so like the fun is different, right? And like, but you realize, even though when you were young and you looked at your parents and you were like, wow, those are my parents, they're old, like they're serious people, when once you become a parent, you then think about your parents in a different light, and you're like, oh shit, they were probably going out and partying
Oh,
still, and like they didn't know what they were fucking doing either. Like
yeah.
that's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so it's again, it comes back to perspective. I wanted to ask you, and I think there might be a good little kind of like tie in here, but what is either an album, a song, an artist, or just like anything in the music realm that you want to either put me onto, that you've been listening to, or something that you've been thinking about?
Couple things.
Yeah.
Um, I'll start with a genre and then get into a few artists, but, so something that I kind of has been my thing for the last year, is house music,
Hmm.
and so I just fucking vibe with it, man, and so like, I mean, some of the artists that I listen to, the classics, Avicii, Swedish House Mafia, David Guetta, Calvin Harris, like those guys.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's a bit techno meets house. I also think too, like for example, Drake's last album, Honestly Nevermind, was pretty house, man. Like
yeah.
he went different, a different route than
Is
all
it
his other
house,
albums.
or is it like trance in a way?
I guess I would say it falls under the house genre,
Hmm.
but I could get behind it being trance. But no, just and bro, my favorite bop, and I'll tie this back to a story. But so I kinda I was in Europe last summer, and, I went to Italy for a wedding and then ended up in Croatia, and one of my buddies is from Croatia, and, we would I hadn't been out in Europe anywhere probably in a few years, and we would go to the club every night, like, different spots, and, go at 12 and stays open till 6, 7 a.m., and, I just remember, man, like the DJs are always bumping house music, and it's a different vibe over there than the North American vibe in DJs here. But so,
It's not like the uns.
yeah, no, no, no,
Okay.
no. And so, man, there was one point where there was probably like 500 people in this club, and you know, it's 5 a.m. and the DJ's like vibing. It's a good night, like we're all chilling, everyone's dancing, everyone's having a good time, and he pauses for a second, and everyone's got like, oh, the music cut, like everyone's kind of like looks up, and he kind of like gives like a head nod, and then fucking gets back into it. It was like I forget what song it was. this one like, kind of, like, techno-ish song, but bro, what happened was he plays the music again, I'm looking around, there's 500 people in here, and it's on beat, everyone. Yeah, like, yo, so ever since that moment, when I came back, I couldn't listen to normal music, I couldn't listen to the radio. I needed to play, like, these just vibe house songs where I would be in the car and I would just, like, find myself, like, constantly, like, moving. Like, it's just a little jive. It's
Yeah,
nothing crazy, it's a little jive, and I'm like, "Yo, like, it's a bop." Like, I'm just like, I just wanna, like, kinda jump up and down, and, like, bro, here, like, people getting all these crazy dance moves and all that shit,
yeah,
like, there, bro, everyone's just, like, one arm up, like, little side to side and
yeah.
on beat, and so and the one song I remember, you should definitely go listen to this after because I want you to feel like going like this. It's
Okay.
called, "We Are Never Coming Home" by Kungs, and, yeah, it's like, "We are never coming home, and it's yeah, bro, you gotta listen
I
to it,
can
but
watch you do this thing all day long, bro.
yeah, so the house music genre is, on my mind and, yeah, bro, just such a such a fun vibe.
Wait, can I tell you something just off of that?
Sure.
So, yeah, and like I was just kind of mentioning this before, where it's like, I'm a parent. And so for me, like, I don't get out much. Like, my social life is very much going to dinner with like another
Which
couple,
which is fun.
which is fun. It is fun. But like I think it was maybe 2 weeks ago, um, I have a friend who had a 40th birthday party, and it was like known going in, it's going to be a rager.
Fucking
Like,
right.
get the kids, babysitter, or
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like have them sleep at whatever. Like, we're gonna pregame, we're gonna go to this thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
we
yeah.
went out. It was a rager. It was so much fun. And and at one point in the night, like after everybody was kind of had a couple of drinks and was like, loose dance floor, like people started getting on the dance floor and started dancing, myself included. And one of my friends, my buddy Jay, just turned to me and he was just like, dancing is so funny when you think about it, like how strange it is. Or like they're playing music and everybody's just like kind of like
Moving. Yeah.
moving to the music. And I hadn't like thought about that in a while, of just the idea of dancing and just like
Yeah.
moving, gyrating your body. And like I love there's nothing that I love more than just like getting a couple drinks in me, whatever, like having a good time and getting on the dance floor, but
Oh, I
only if
love dancing.
the music is right, right? Because like if the
100%.
music isn't right, then like I can't do it. And I don't know. I just thought it was funny, the idea of
Yeah.
just if you really think about dancing just in general, it is kind of strange, right? Like a little
Yeah.
bit.
I think I mean, it's obviously a form of expression. I think it's an art. For most of us, it's not. But I mean, you see what some of these people can do on, Dancing with the Stars, just so you think you can dance. Like it's just it's beautiful. Like it's
Yeah,
like
it
art,
is.
man. So yeah, but I hear you on that dancing piece. I would say it's hit or miss. For me in New York, even some places, but yeah, over there, every place I went to, we're jamming. And yo, I actually I have a 60th birthday party tonight, so I'm hoping that's a rager, someone's 60th. 40 is a good number. We're out here like with old heads, bro.
That's
Um,
my hope, man. Even when I'm 60, that I'm gonna turn up, It's gonna be lit. The
definitely
60th birthday party. I wanted to also tell you one other thing, like music
music
related.
wise, yeah.
Yeah, because I saw a clip the other day, and there was a comedian named Ari Spears, who I happen to think is actually pretty funny. He does amazing impersonations. But I saw a clip, and he was basically talking about like, what do you think of today's music? And he was like, it's garbage. And he was talking about rap music specifically. And he was like, you know, think about today's music. Like, it's the Island Boys, and it's Takashi 69 and Lil Yachty. And by the way, like Lil Yachty, like I like Lil
He's got a
Yachty,
couple
but
bops,
I know
yeah.
he threw Lil Yachty in there. He's like, well, in my day, it was Jay-Z and it was Nas and it was Big L and Big Pun and like Biggie and all these. And
Yeah, yeah.
I was just like, man, this is such a whack take in my mind, like such like a lazy take. And it's so funny how people always think about the music of their time period as like the golden age of music, right? Like, first off, come on. If you're going to talk about today's rappers, like talk about Kendrick, talk about Cole, talk about Drake, talk about Migos,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like you're comparing the
That's
best
a ridiculous
rappers from
comparison.
then to like the Island Boys and to like come on,
I've
dude.
never heard one Island Boys song, so that's bullshit, but yeah.
Right, right. I know, but it is this thing where like people that, especially people like from my generation that were born in the '90s, when it relates to rap music, it is considered the golden age of rap music. And yeah, there was an incredible
I could
amount
get behind that,
of
yeah.
music that came out of that, that time period. But I don't know. It was just one of those things where I was just like, come on, like, why is it always, why don't people realize that every single time period, there's always good and bad music. Like you can always find new music that is incredible, and there you
Yeah.
could always find music that's terrible. It's it's
I
just it's just like this thing where you're so nostalgic about the time where you were growing up, where music had the most profound impact on you. I think is what I think it is.
No, I'm with you. Yeah, and it's that individual's perspective too, right? Like if they want to be negative, if they got a little chip on their shoulder around their time and their music, and again, it is nostalgic to them, they're gonna fight for that. So, yeah, I think it's bias. Unless you've got anything else on the music side, I would love to hear about like any pieces of content, trends, creators that you've been watching or been keeping tabs to that you want to put our audience on.
Oh, I got a bunch. I got a bunch that I want to put you on to. But I got to start. I think if I'm going to talk about one thing, I have to start here, and it's it's a rabbit hole that I've gone down, which is I've been watching a lot of panda videos
That's
lately.
I mean, you just saying that out loud is fine. Is fine.
Listen, this is how it started. Okay, it started one day. I saw a video, and it was a up close video of a panda
Okay.
eating like a giant piece of bamboo, right? Just like
Yep.
crunch, just like and there was something like very just, I don't know, like
Peaceful.
peaceful about it. There, it had like an ASMR quality to
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I was just like, I just loved it. I sent it to a bunch of people. I sent it to my wife, and I was like, "This is me, like, late night, like eating a pretzel rod, like all
Yeah.
the,
You
that's
missed me on that send out.
I
You
don't
must have,
know. I probably did,
fucker.
but next thing I know, my algo switches to a lot of panda videos.
No doubt. Yeah.
Uh, pandas, it turns out, are like pretty funny, like
Great
well
animals.
well-natured animals. Like, they have fun, they roll around. I love the videos of just pandas eating different things, carrots and all those things. Next thing I know, I'm getting videos of all different types of animals eating food. I have this video of like this really awesome looking porcupine that looked like Zoolander, had like this black and white like thing, and it's eating something. I gotta send you that one because that's amazing. And like, it's just my entire life then turns it like, now my avatar like on Twitter is a panda, and
Oh,
I don't
that's
know.
why. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think it all goes back to this thing of like, what's so interesting to me about social media of just ending up in these different like niche like rabbit
Areas.
holes of
Yeah, going down the rabbit holes. Yeah, yeah.
going down the rabbit hole and just either seeing something that you've never seen before, or learning something, or just like the entertainment value. But I love pandas, and I'm really into panda videos. I want to tell you about another one, which is just, this is on a totally different tip, right?
Yeah.
So I might have mentioned like in maybe an earlier episode where there was some content creator whose name is Juice with like a couple X's in
Yeah.
the name. His thing is that he goes up to street vendors and gives them like $1,000, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, excuse me.
You're
Um,
good.
there's another guy that I've been following that's been popping up in my feed, and I got to give love to, and it's this guy's name,
Okay.
Hoppyano 0, right? And
Okay.
we'll tag him at some point. His whole thing is he starts each video, he'll go to like Pizza Hut or like, or pizza, Domino's or McDonald's, right?
Yeah,
Sandwich place, and
fast
just
food
pick up
spot.
like $80 worth of just sandwiches, pizza, whatever. Then what he'll do is he'll roll up to a place where there are a bunch of homeless people,
Okay.
and then like he'll call to one of them and they'll come over to his car and
Yeah.
he'll be like, "What size shoe are you?" And they'll be like, 10, whatever, 10 and a half. I'll be like,
Yeah.
"Okay, I got a pair of 10 and a halves." He'll give them a pair of sneakers.
That's
He'll give
awesome.
them a couple sandwiches and a bunch of drinks. And then he'll like take out like a thing of money and he'll give them like $20, $15, $25.
Yeah.
And and it's these videos of him doing it with multiple people, like throughout the course of the day. He's picked
Yeah.
up all this food. And it's this thing where it's like, it's so talk about wholesome content,
Oh, yeah,
and
the
just like
interactions are probably so genuine.
it's so like such a
Yeah.
positive like impact this guy is making on the world. And like, obviously a lot of times people take it to a negative thing. Oh, this is some like self-serving thing, but it's just like it's such a good deed. And like you're not changing a person's life obviously with $20 and some food and like and a pair of sneakers, but for these people, like,
Goes
you
a long
kinda
way.
are changing their
Yeah.
lives in a lot of ways, and you're what you're really doing is, like, giving them hope. And, man, I've watched a lot of this guy's videos, and every single time it's inspiring, and I get, like, a
Yeah.
little bit emotional about it.
Yeah. I
But I
bet.
just wanna give that guy a plug because, like, you have the fucking random
That's
panda
awesome. Yeah,
videos,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
you have some shit like this, you know? What
Yeah.
about you?
Yeah, there's it seems to be no in between with you.
I know.
Um, for me, the one piece of content that's kind of been taking over my For You page and that I've been watching is, this whole thing called the 10 to $10,000 challenge,
Okay.
and, it's in the sports betting, gambling community. I don't endorse gambling, by the way. But no, so it's something where you start with $10. It's a 10-day challenge, and each day you double up your bet. So like $10 the first day, you win 20. Now we go 20 to 40, 40 to 80, and until you get to 10K. And this one individual has been blowing up on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and their his at is calling our shot. We'll link it as well.
Okay.
But so he got to day 9, and so he 9 bets in a row, $10 to 5K. The team that actually fucked him, screwed him over, is my team, the
The Bills,
Bills.
huh? Ooh,
Very
sorry,
yeah.
man.
I don't want to get into that. Uh, but no, so he ran it back a few days ago, and we're rolling. We're on hit the first 3. I want to say we're on day 4 today. Everyone's riding. It's like a whole community thing. It's probably I want to say there's like 50,000 people commenting, being like, "Yo, I'm in this. Let's do it. Let's take $10 to 10K. 10K is a lot of money for a
Yeah.
lot of people." So yeah, just the fact that he's doing this for the people, and you can turn $10 into 10 grand, and everyone's kind of behind this movement and watching the games together. Like it was the Knicks Boston game last night. It was the same gamer, and just the amount of people who were tuning in just based off this guy was it's
Did he
cool to
have the
see.
Knicks? Did he have the Knicks or no?
So it's been player props. So
Okay.
it was RJ over 15 points. RJ's 3 in OT was fucking massive.
Yeah.
It was Randall over points. It was Tatum over points. And so yeah, it was just a few things that we hit. But yeah, I mean, we talked about it earlier. That was a great game last night. But
I
yeah, that's
love that. I
yeah.
love that because it's funny that you mentioned that because I saw a buddy of mine sent me something last night where it was like a TikTok clip of somebody saying, here's like a long shot that I'm going to give tonight. It's like Julius Randle plays
Yeah.
great on prime time.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's like over 36 points or over 34 points, over 14 boards, over 6 assists. And it was like, maybe there was one other thing and it was like 100 to win like 7,000. And Julius Randle balled out last night.
He
He
did.
ended up having over 34 points. I don't know if he hit the assists and I don't think he hit the rebounds, but like in the third quarter, you were like, wow, this could definitely hit. And I don't know, for me, like as a reformed degenerate gambler, because that's what I was, and that's a story for another day. I don't really bet anymore.
That's
Um,
probably for the best, yeah.
yeah, it's definitely for the best because that was a habit I managed to kick, a bad habit. But I could watch anybody gamble, like, where it's like I've seen a couple videos of these guys where it's like they've hit all of these different parts of a
Oh,
parlay,
crazy parlays,
and
yeah.
then it comes down to this last thing, and they're gonna make millions of dollars, and they can either what's it called when you now I'm
Cash
blanking,
out,
like, yeah, like you could cash out and it's like,
let it ride.
yeah, or let it ride, and it's amazing. It's amazing to watch. Like, talk about theater. It's there's nothing more exciting than there's nothing more exciting than betting with your friends and all having the same game that you could like be rooting together on. Like, to me, that was why I had a gambling problem back in the day. It was like in college, we used to all be like, all
Oh,
right,
squad rides?
who we riding with today? Like, let's just fucking ante up and all take the same thing, and then we're either gonna all be happy together or all be miserable
Yeah,
together.
that's how
Yeah.
that's how it goes. That's, no, that's funny that that's
There's
that
nothing better than that, man. But oh wait, there might have been one other. I could save it for another time. I was thinking like I want to touch on this with you down the road, but like the other thing that I'm getting a lot of videos of is just space clips, like galaxies and
okay.
alien UFO sightings. I don't like. There's all of that is hitting my feed right now, and again, a topic for another day, but like I remember the other day thinking like I've seen so many videos that at this point it's just like are there just aliens all over the like are they just all over the place and like there's too many videos at this point and too many of these stories. I can't even get into it right now because I don't because
Yeah, yeah,
I have a lot to talk about. What I wanted to ask you about was what is something that you're doing right now? I know I'm just like I'm going where we go kind of like from
every
one
different
topic
direction,
to
yes.
another topic, every direction. But you know, we talk about a lot of funny stuff. We talk about a lot of content. I think something that's important to me and you is mental health,
For
right?
sure.
And I'm wondering, like, is there something? I think this could also tie into the bad habits, good habits.
I agree.
Something that you're doing right now for your mental health and your happiness that you want to put people onto.
Yeah, yeah, so I would say for me, something that I'm doing is probably 5 to 10 times throughout the day, I will either just come out of a meeting or it'll be a night and I'll be at the golf sim or playing footy or whatever. And I will, take 30 seconds to just fully immerse myself in that environment and just be like, yeah, I'm fucking present right now. I'm not thinking about anything else. I'm like actively doing that just to make sure that, I stay grounded throughout the day. And I mean, I kind of I like to say that I'm a workhorse and take calls throughout the day and spend so much time on the computer screen, my phone screen, jamming on so many different things that just those 30-second moments 10 times throughout the day where I'm like, yeah, it's a good day, I'm present, and just yeah, just actively kind of think about my mental in that sense is something that I'm doing. And the other thing, that's I mean, I've picked up a lot recently because 'cause I'm going to, the warmth in Vegas and Phoenix, but, I've been hitting the golf sim a lot. Me and, there's probably, like, 8 of us who
Hmm.
between obviously, it's 4 people to a sim, 4 people to a round, well, we got a little competition going, and we'll play different courses and, gamble a little bit, see who plays the best. I took, St. Andrews, the famous
Yeah.
course in Scotland. I I had a not crazy. I had an amazing round there last time out, and so yeah, it's gets competitive. But that's something where once you're in that room, or I way prefer being outside, but everything just clears. Don't go
Yeah,
on
you
my
have that
phone, and I'm just
clarity.
yeah. It's the same thing. It's same thing happens when I'm playing footy. But how about you?
Well,
What's
it's you know, my thing that I do and well, let me just take a step back. Something that like I'm thinking about just off of what you're saying is when I was kind of in my younger years, like in high school, one of the things that I loved to do, I had one of my closest friends, a buddy of mine named Eric, who used to live around the corner, and he used to come over and we would take a baseball like with we'd get our gloves out and we'd literally just toss a baseball back and forth to each other, not even that hard, and
Yeah,
just
yeah,
have long conversations. And
yeah,
like just the act of just catching and throwing, it was like
yeah.
relaxing. It
I
just,
feel you.
I don't know. And then separately, I had another friend, my buddy Roni, where we would just do that ping pong, same thing, just not like playing against each other, just like rally
Talking and
back and forth for an hour. And, like, and there is something about sports of just like where you're able to
disconnect.
detach and disconnect and just have that mental clarity. Because my mental health thing that I wanted to talk to you about was I have this weekly basketball game. I play
Yeah,
like in a pickup game that I do with a couple of my friends that live out by where I am. It's like an old man game. We're all washed up, whatever. I used to play basketball pretty seriously back in the
yeah.
day, um, and I was very competitive. And it turns out I'm still competitive, and
That doesn't
and
leave.
it doesn't leave. And we all live for this game because we're all the day to day in our day to day lives. Just think about all of
Yeah,
the responsibilities, the tasks, the stress, and so getting out there on the court, you're able to just leave it all, just leave it all behind, just play your game, and you just get lost in that. And the funny thing about it is that as much as it's so good for my mental health, there's also kind of some downsides about it, which is to the point of being competitive. If I
I feel
play
you.
bad
Yeah.
on a given night, I dwell on it. I go home. My wife is like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "I don't want to talk
Yeah,
about
you don't
it."
wanna talk. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then a lot of times my Thursday is just shot because I'm just in my own head. It like
But
affects me
yeah,
until the next week. Whereas, you know, not for nothing, I played pretty good the other day, and like I hit a game winner, I hit a couple
let's go.
threes, I was feeling it, I was feeling myself, yeah, and then like I had a pep in my step, yeah, I was just like getting buckets left and right, people were like giving me dap, like great game, all that stuff, um, but the point being is like that exercise where because look, I don't really go to the gym anymore, and part of my whole thing with the gym was always just like getting on the treadmill or doing like the weights,
Yeah,
and it's just a lot of it is it's boring, it's mindless,
yeah,
whereas you're out there on the court and it's like you feel like you're young again, and all of those things kind of get brought back up, and
all those feelings, yeah.
and it's just the best. I don't know. I love it so much. I need it so much. And everybody knows Wednesday night, don't
Bring
hit
it.
me up. Yeah,
Yeah,
don't like leave me alone from the hours of like basically like 6:30 to the rest of the night. I'm in basketball mode, like, and I- it's probably the one of my favorite things that I do outside of just going for long walks, which I do a
yeah,
lot too whenever I get the chance. That's the
okay.
thing that's really like my mental health thing. I think this is also kind of a good segue in talking about habits, right? Good or bad habits that you have. And so are there any good or bad habits that you're working through right now or that are progressing if it's a good habit or that you're working through, yeah, if it's a bad habit?
Yeah, I
Anything
would
that
say I would say a habit that I'm working through and that I would like to, make this change is that I find myself, I think we were talking about it a little bit, but every time, I'm ready to go to bed or whatever, I go on my phone and like I'll be like, on Twitter or on whatever, and like Twitter sometimes reminds me of work just because obviously the space I'm playing in and
yeah,
stuff like that. So I'll be on and I'll kind of like then start to dial in and I'll just get like super, not juiced up, but I feel more energetic now. And so the screen time, I'm trying to limit my screen time significantly before I go to bed just so I, have better
yeah,
sleeps and am able to operate better the next day. So I think something that I'm working through that, has not happened over the past few months that needs to start to happen is the fact that, you know, 30 minutes to an hour before I plan on going to sleep, no screens, no phone, no computer, no TV.
Mhm.
It's a great time to read for me, and that's kind of when I do my reading, but normally I'll, like, check the phone at the after, and it just kind of wakes me up again. So that's a habit that I have, a bad habit, and that I'm trying to work through. How about you?
Me too, right? That's not the habit that I was gonna discuss, but just on that note, do you get those notifications where it's like, "This past week, you spent, like" for me, like,
This amount of time on your phone, the
7
screen time?
hours yeah, a day of screen time, and I'm like,
Your
7
yours is only
hours?
7?
Bro, well, 7 hours a day of on my phone? That's a shit ton of time, no?
Yo, mine is, like, 12.
Well, I mean, you're, like, doing work off your phone. I guess
Yeah,
we're all kinda doing
I
that to some degree.
it is probably a bit different my situation than yours, yes. But yo, yeah, 7, I'd be fucking happy, man. I'd be laughing. Uh,
I I know,
that's all.
it's
No, I hear
depressing.
you though. I hear you.
So with my habit, right? Okay, I'll give you a little kind of like anecdote, little story, which is like I love Tim Ferriss. And well, actually, let me take it even further back. I read this book by James Clear called Atomic Habits. Which did you read that book?
No.
Okay, great book. Honestly, it was a great book because it had a lot of really great lessons and
Yeah, I've heard great
practical like
things. Yeah, yeah.
things to take away. In terms of like, there were a lot of points while I was reading that book where I was getting a little bit bored of it, but that
Okay.
had a lot of really great nuggets for me, somebody that has probably more bad habits than a normal person in my mind. And then so I read the book and then I didn't do any of it, right? Because I'm just like an asshole in that way. And then I was listening to Tim Ferriss a couple weeks ago. He had James Clear on, right? And all of these things got brought back up. So I'm listening to it. And at one point, Tim Ferriss goes like, you know, obviously there's this lesson of like that I took away from your book and it made so much sense. It's like if I have the snacks in the house, if I have the chips, the bag of chips, I'm
Yeah,
gonna eat the bag of chips. Like
you have
and
to.
and Atomic Habits, a lot of it's just about like you got to put yourself in the right environment. You have to make it
I'm with
easier
it.
for yourself to have the better habit. And
Preach.
for the bad habits, you got to make it tougher by like actually like arranging
Eliminating
your
those things. Yeah.
environment in that way. Right. And so I got all fired up. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go home and I'm going to throw away all of
All my
my
junk.
junk food and my snacks. Or, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So I get home, I don't throw anything away. I'm starting to think I don't want to waste food. Like that's wasteful. Like there are people on this
Definitely.
planet that don't even have food and they're
Yeah.
starving. And
How
like,
could you throw it
who am
out?
I to throw away the food? And then like later in the night, I'm like laying in bed. I'm actually doing a good job. I'm not like snacking so much that night. My wife falls asleep. Next thing you know, it's like cut to I'm standing in front of the pantry and like and there's a quote that I think about a lot where I don't know. Have you ever heard the quote where it's hard choices, easy life, easy choices, hard life?
I have.
Okay. So I'm taking the cookie, the Oreo, and I'm eating it and I'm thinking about that quote. And in that moment, I'm thinking to myself like shit. Like I'm like just like in this moment, like I don't need to eat this cookie. I'm just like doing it because I don't know. I'm not even sure. Like I guess I'm
Yeah.
hungry, right? Like, but I'm gonna pay for this 10 to 15 years down the road. I'm gonna pay for this if I keep doing this. And
Yeah.
and it's I think it just goes back to this thing where it's like, man, self-control. Like I right now I'm struggling with it in a lot of ways where I feel good about the fact that I can observe it and that I'm aware of it, but, like,
That's
at
step
what
one. Yeah.
point at what point do I actually
Make a
put it into
change.
action? And I keep telling myself, like, I'm not gonna go and buy these things at the supermarket. And then, again, cut to, I'm at the
He's
supermarket,
in the
I'm
freezer aisle.
checking yeah, I'm in the
Bang, his
freezer,
cart's
I'm
full.
checking out, and my cart's full of snacks and shit, and I keep doing the same thing over and over again. And so I'm really hoping that this podcast is gonna be something
Allow you
that
to.
helps me to break some of the bad cycles that I have, the bad habits that I have, because The snack one is a big one. I know it's tied to the weed sometimes in a lot of ways, like that habit,
Yeah.
but I'm working
Yo,
through it the best I can, man. I'm
that's
not
all you can
doing
do.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
trying.
I mean, yo, you talk about self-control, and it just reminds me, I did sober October for the first time ever this year,
Oh yeah?
and, yeah, and I mean, like, normally, I'm a social drinker, like, you go out a few times a week, whether it's with friends or when I'm traveling, and so, a couple beers, a few nights a week, and on the weekends, I'm 21, so some drinking happening, and yeah, man, that month of October, just the self-control, going out, doing things still and kind of living my life as I would, but being at these social situations, everyone else is drinking and I'm like, "No, no, water's good. Yeah, yeah." Because I don't drink like pop or anything really. So it's like, yeah, I'm just drinking water everywhere and these guys are in my ear like, "Yo, fuck you." Like, "You're an idiot." Like, "You're fine." But and just yeah, bro. So when you touch on the self-control aspect, I feel that. Um, but yeah, so that's my
Let me
tidbit.
just say one last thing on that. You mentioned to me, like, the waters, like, drinking, like,
Yeah, the
the
2 glass of water every
2 glass
morning
of waters.
wakes you up.
I
It's
know.
so healthy.
Still haven't done it. Like, I keep telling myself, "I'm gonna do it," and then I'm drinking the coffee. Like, I still haven't. I promise you, Cal,
I'm al
tomorrow, Saturday morning, tomorrow, I'm doing it. I hold me to it. I'm going to do it. I'm putting it out there in the world. I'm doing it tomorrow. I'll let
a
you know how it goes.
and yo, no coffee for, like, the first 90 minutes of your
That's gonna
day.
be tough for me. That's gonna be very
No,
tough, but
no,
I'm
the
gonna do it.
water wakes you up. The water has the same effect. 2 glasses room temperature as soon as you wake up has the same effect. It'll wake you up, it'll p push you through the 90. Then you can fucking have coffee if you'd like.
I'm addicted to coffee. That's maybe why it's so hard for me. It's
90
not like
minutes,
it.
man. You can wait 90
All
minutes.
right,
Get
I'm gonna try. All right, stop screaming at me. Let's do
Yeah.
our last things. What do we got?
Yeah, so, hit me with, something in your professional life, that has been a takeaway over the last couple weeks since we last spoke.
Professional. Can I actually?
You wanna
Can we?
start with personal?
Yeah, let's start with the
Yeah, I shoulda asked
personal.
you personal first. It's fine. You go.
Yeah.
You're running the show.
Um. Okay. um. Professional. So the professional takeaway for me is this. This past week, it was my father's birthday, right? And I've mentioned this. My father passed away. I guess it was 2 years ago at this point. It was his birthday. I got together with family. I was thinking about him a lot.
Yeah,
Um, and he's been on my mind. But the thing that I'm like relating it to is I've had a lot of things with my oldest son in the last kind of like few weeks. His name is Milo, and he is 7 years old. He's so precocious, like, and he's like a mini me. Like, he's exactly like I was when I was young. He loves sports, obsessed with like sports cards and video games and Madden and all the players, and he's like me in that way, but he's also like the class clown. He's always talking. He's always got an opinion, and he's got some mood swings and some attitude stuff where like
like you, yeah.
he's either like super energetic, happy, or he's like in a mood, whatever. And I, sometimes me and my wife just get frustrated with him, and like how we kind of communicate with him is like he'll do something and we'll get angry or we'll get irritated, and then we lose our tempers. And I'm really trying to be so mindful about the fact that we can control the way that we react to him.
Yeah,
Whereas he's 7 years old, and like
yeah,
when you're young like that and you're upset, and then somebody who's like much older and much bigger and much more imposing, like gets angry at you, like, and screams at you, or, like talks, like they just see red. Like they can't even, I'm
no
trying to
doubt.
like teach a point and like get some sort of like lesson across. And basically there's no reasoning with him because in that moment, like he just can't hear anything, and like, and so my takeaway is this is just like, it's about communication, and it's about patience, and it's about learning, you know, when is the right time to try and talk to somebody about something. Like in the heat of the moment,
Yeah.
it's you want to like tell somebody something or teach somebody something, and then a lot of times that's just not the right time to do it.
Yeah.
um and and raising your voice is not going to be the thing that is going to help, right? You teach them when they're in a good mood, right? And when things are good, that's the teaching moment, is when you're actually able to have a conversation about it. And so my
100%.
personal takeaway is just I want to do a much better job of just trying to have some perspective when it relates to my kids and be more understanding, and put myself in their shoes, because I know when I was 7 years old, I was like a little shit, man. Like I was the biggest wise ass. I was like him in so many ways, and I love him so much. And it's just it's tough, man, when you have a kid and reliving that. It's like you're
Yeah.
seeing the world through their eyes, and reliving what your childhood was about. So that's my personal takeaway. What's yours?
Yeah, I'll take that for when I have kids, thank you. Um, no,
It's a
my
bro, it's the biggest mind fuck. Like that's that
yeah.
it's the biggest mind fuck. All right, but tell me.
I would say my personal and professional, takeaway this week kinda fall in the same category, um, in the sense that my takeaway is I am more productive and am more and get more out of my week, month, whatever, when I'm being challenged to the extreme. So when I say that, for example, on the professional side, we're kind of building out this. I guess this goes back to my idea, but we're building out our own loyalty rewards program thing on the blockchain. And obviously, there's a lot that's going on, and we're essentially creating an economy. And I'm kind of spearheading it along. I'm not actually building any of the tech, but sort of spearheading this. And man, at 21 years old, and just going back and forth with the team and the developers, and they obviously super smart individuals, tech, math, all of that, and just the amount of focus I have to bring to every conversation so that everything doesn't go straight over my head is
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
And I come out of those meetings and my head's hurting from like how smart they sound and how crazy the conversation was. But then I feel like, it inspires me and I have to adapt and come at it from a different angle, and just being challenged actually fucking excites me and gets me juiced. And so and that's in my personal life as well, in the sense that I like having challenging conversations, man. I don't want in relationships, I don't like when I say things, because I'm a pretty opinionated guy.
Mhm.
And I'm pretty out there as well in terms of like outgoing. So I'll fucking come guns a blazing with my belief, my point,
Yeah.
and so many people are just quick to agree, and I can tell that they feel a different way or don't agree
Mhm.
with this take, but they're like, "Yeah, yeah, no, I agree." And they kind of want to skim over that conversation, where I want to have fucking real hard conversations. I want to be
Yeah.
challenged. I want to challenge mentally and physically, and just I think that, yeah, just that aspect of where I'm at in life right now is prevalent, and that's my takeaway in both, that I enjoy being challenged both physically and mentally. How about
That's great. That's
how about
great.
your professional?
Well, I just wanna say one thing on that point, which is like when I was young, I remember how intimidated I was in a lot of like the early conversations as it related to business, right? Where, people would be talking and throwing around terms and lingo, and I'm just like fucking lost. Like, what are you people talking
Yeah,
about? And I
yeah.
would get in there and I had no idea what I was talking about. And I felt like an asshole. And so I would overcompensate by using these buzzword terms and all those sorts of things. And then over time, what I realized are like the smartest people, and like the people that are
Speak the
are
least.
are yeah, are the people that can take really complicated concepts and terms and simplify them and
Communicate in an
explain
easy
them
way.
in a way that like the layperson, like the average person can understand, like
100%.
that's why a guy like Naval Ravikant is one of my favorites of all time, because the guy is brilliant, but like he could take those types of concepts and just dumb them down for the average Joe like myself. Um, but yeah, like those types of conversations, um,
Definitely.
that makes sense to me. My professional takeaway is this: we're doing this podcast, right? And to your point, like all the way in the beginning of the pod, it's been a shit ton of work. And I mentioned this before. I've been driving myself off the fucking wall with this podcast because I've been going in, I've been trying to watch it over and over again. Timestamps, edits, what are the clips that we want to put on social? We want to get the cover art right, right? We want to thumbnails, just everything. You know, I even think about a couple of the episodes before where you would say something and I'm thinking about the next thing and I'm not processing what you're saying. And then I had a bad reaction to it. And I'm
There's no
like,
such thing as a bad reaction, but yeah,
I'm down on myself about it. There is a bit. But
when
here's the
it's you,
thing.
yeah.
I'm killing myself about all this stuff and had a couple conversations and then you realize like it's like anything else. You got to get the reps. You got to do it consistently.
100%.
Like you got to flex that muscle and you can't be so precious about the thing that you're doing. And look, I am very much one of those guys that is all about the details and being super, super thoughtful. And yeah, this is our baby. We want to make sure this, you know, comes out and it's the best thing that it can be. But like, I'm sure there are a lot of podcasts out there. Some of my favorite podcasts where like the first few episodes, they're not even, it's day and night between the first few episodes and episode 30, 40, 50. And
I agree with
knock
that.
on wood, we get there, right? But like at a certain point, I guess my professional takeaway is you got to kind of just like let it out into the world and relinquish control and just say like, you can't
C'est la
be so
vie.
precious about it. Yeah, c'est la vie. But I say c'est la vie to a lot of people. I love that.
Yeah,
I
I've never
love
heard
that.
you say that.
Oh, well, maybe like I don't say it to a lot of people. I like to write it and then
Oh,
like,
okay.
but then it
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
have
yeah.
the
C'est
accents
la
and
vie. I
like,
love that
yeah.
term.
And really that's kind of like my professional takeaway is just, you know, you're going to get better with time. You're going to get better with practice. You're going to get better with consistency.
Yep.
And, and a lot of times you have to just get it out and accept it. And you can't just, you know, dwell on things. And so that's my professional takeaway. I feel like this was a great pod.
Yeah.
We got into a lot of shit, man. We really
We
did.
did. We did. No, we covered a lot. Yeah, no, it's been real on this Friday morning bleeding into afternoon in your world. Do you want to still tell that joke? I know you
Oh yeah.
this
Once I
guy's
tell
been
you,
raving about a joke all fucking morning.
it's not a good joke, but I
Oh,
had this joke when I was young, and it was a Canadian joke, and I had never told you it. And so the joke was, um, what was Can? Do you know that it wasn't originally called Canada, right? Do you know what Canada was originally called?
I do not know.
So it was originally called CND. Do you know why that is?
No.
C
CND.
A N A D A. That's the joke.
Because the A, yeah.
Because the A.
Okay, yeah, I'll take that. I'll come up with an American joke for next time. I
Uh,
overhyped for sure. No,
a
I'll
very
take it.
overhyped joke. I
Um,
think we'll leave it off. We'll
yeah,
leave
we'll
it
leave
off
it
on
on
that. It
that.
was a bad joke. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Bad
yo,
joke.
have a good weekend. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and yeah, we out. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Put On Podcast. Follow us on social at 1:37 p.m. and at the Put On Pod. The Put On Podcast is a 1:37 p.m. production.